Welcome back, everybody, and any of you guys new here that clicked on that link, thanks for stopping by, and we're going to keep it simple today. Today's Tackle Tip Tuesday is all about slip bobbers. Okay, so like I said, today's Tackle Tip Tuesday is all about slip bobbers. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be like, it's just a bobber. You're just bobber fishing. It's only a bobber. Yeah, there's a million different only it's a bobber. For instance, we're just going to go right off the bat and go, all right, so this bobber is used for one thing. What's this one used for? If you don't know right off the top of your head, that's why I'm making this video. The biggest thing here I want to get people to understand is the value of slip bobbers. We'll go into the regular bobbers too, but there's a very, very big value of bobbers, or slip bobbers. It's not just the fact that it's a regular bobber. It's the fact that it's got such versatility that you can catch everything from like big bluegills, like this one. That's a big gill too. Oh my god, look at that ear tip. Oh my god, that's probably a PB right there. Or trophy walleye, like this one. Might have actually found one. Yep. Thank God it's rolling. This thing's pretty big. Came off in the net. Yep. 18 inches. Or 3-pound bass, like this one. There's the first pig of the day. Didn't hit top water, but had to go to the live bait bite. I'm gonna weigh this girl and put her back, see what she weighs. So the big thing here that I'm trying to get everybody to understand is always have a bobber rod set up. Now, mind you, you guys have probably seen me grab it a million different times now. And it is we'll go into the breakdown of everything, but it is the most simple, valuable little tool that you can put together. This one has got my jig on it from the last video. You guys didn't see that after this video, go check it out. It'll be in the latest videos. But this one, this setup, I mean, I forgot what rod this is. This is my, I think it's a 7. Now the 6.6 medium is my like go-to rod. I have everything listed in my description. Basically everything I use, but when I say go-to rod, I have, like I said, I have more expensive rods than just that ugly stick 6.6. But it is literally one of those rods where, like, one, I don't care if I step on it and break it, because I forgot how much they cost, but they're dirt cheap for me. Most people can afford them. If it's an expensive rod for you, you got goals to set to get bigger ones, better ones, but you don't necessarily need the really expensive rods, but they do come in handy. Everything has a purpose, and that's why I do these Tackle Tip Tuesdays. So everything that we use in fishing has a purpose to it. Like, for instance, so I have this reel sitting up on my shelf right now because this reel is a Avenger Series Okuma ABF 40B. It's a pretty big reel, but this is a bait feeder. This has got a purpose. I don't use this all the time. One of the things I use is when I'm ice fishing. I put it on my iFish Pro rods. When I'm northern pike fishing, it's got 12-pound test on it, I believe, or 10-pound. It's a bait feeder, so they can run with it. Yeah, perfect for an iFish Pro setup. It's got a purpose. But back to the bobbers. Okay, so for instance here, let's break this down a little bit. I want it so you guys can understand, like, this fish on the wall here. It's a 28 8-pound walleye. It's my PB right now. Still trying to break it. That's gonna drive me nuts until I hit a 30. But I mean, that's usually everybody's problem, is they get one close and then they don't get a 30 forever, or you know, you break the 30 off the bat and now you're stuck in limbo because it's hard to get another 30. Anyways, I digress. That fish right there. So I showed you those two at the beginning of the video here. This one is a bluegill bobber, or a panfish bobber, for the very, very beginning of the season when they spook very easy in the shallows. It is a slip bobber, so it slides on your line, so it's technically the same thing as this, but this is meant to hold up. I don't even know if, here, I'll hold this in front of it. It looks pretty big there, but like if I put it in front of my thumbnail, so I was right there touching, this is like a 1/64 or 180 something jig. This is my sickle hook jig that I go with. I swear by it all spring long, because the way this hook is designed is very special in the sense that you don't have to let fish swallow the hook, and you can preserve those giant bluegills when you get into them. That's a whole different story. But now this bobber right here, let me see if I got one laying in here. Okay, so this bobber right here is the biggest out of the slip bobbers that I have. So I have these three, let me see, 4. Where's the other one? There's one more. So these 5 sizes right here. So these are all destined and used for something very specific. And a lot of people, like I said, do this thing where they say, this is just a bobber. I'm going to throw it on the line and put whatever on it. But we'll get this to the point here. This little thing was for that little jig, for that little guy right there. So weightless. I don't use any split shots or nothing extra. Just this and just this. That's a panfish setup. It works every time. This guy right here goes really good with these. And I mean, you can go all the way up to, like, I think it's 1/8. You can go way up in jig size. And then the thing with these is you can run big baits. Big baits like, well, this, I mean, this, they make bigger ones, so I don't want to say this is like the biggest you can get. I think I have these linked in the description as my favorite bobber or something like that. If I don't, I'll link them below. But this one will actually hold up. I want to say I've used all the way up to a 3 or 4 inch chub, or like sucker minnow, for catching those guys right there. So this with a split shot below it, with this below that, so it's neutrally buoyant, so you're getting it to float right here. I'll go into detail on that. That's something you guys really need to know more about. Set properly with that sucker, when that guy swims by and he takes that sucker, this has, it's because it's neutrally buoyant, has no problem going under. And because it's a slip bobber, so with slip bobbers, you put them on the line, so imagine there's a line here. It slides all the way down to your split shot. So this is a split shot right here. Now imagine this being able to slide down to here, and you have two more feet of line, and there's a jig. So that's only 2 feet from there to there. It allows you to cast real far, but like I said, because it's a slip bobber, you have the ability to fish 10, 20, 30 feet of water and have a bobber indicator. And the thing with having a bobber indicator is it's not always just about the sight picture. Like a lot of people think that because you're using a bobber, you're like inferior, or you're not capable of feeling the bite. Well, this bobber sits there in the waves, bouncing up and down, jigging it for you. Here's the key: in place. It keeps it in the strike zone. So I'm gonna pull, I think I still have a map laying around here. I'll have to get into that in a little bit better detail in a video when I'm doing it, but what I'm gonna say is it'll hold your bait in place. So say you have a brake line with a mud flat next to it, and then on top of that brake line there's another flat up here, and there's weeds here. So my hand's the weeds. This is a flat, brake line, edge of the weed line. So say the fish in the morning are on top of this weed line. It's 10-15 feet deep right here. You just slip the stop 15 feet and you fish that weed line right there. Now as the day goes on and the fish move down to the flat down here, you just slide your slip bobber stop up, and 25 feet, that's where they're at. Same thing, just cast out to that spot. Now like I said, that bobber will stay here and bob in the weeds, or on the edge of the weeds, and stay here and bob on the edge of the bottom of the flat. That is pretty much how simple it can be fishing with a slip bobber. And if you have you just have to have a basic understanding what fish do throughout the day. And all fish have patterns. That's the trick here. Once you get decent at fishing, even at the beginning, the very beginning, this is something I advocate everyone tries. Slip bobber fishing is literally one of the best go-tos if you're looking for fish on a new body of water, because you can literally basically, like when you cast the bobber out, what I like to do a lot of times is I'll set it, like if I think it's 10 feet deep where I'm casting, so like that edge of the weed line like I was saying, if I think it's 10 feet deep, I'll set it for like 11 or 12. So you can use the rod to measure your thing. So like that's a 6.5 foot rod. So what I'll do is I'll stretch the stop out to that 2 times. So that's what you do. You stretch it out to it twice. That's 12 feet. Well, actually that's 13 feet because 6 and 6. But the half a foot. So 13 feet. You cast out, and if the bobber is laying flat on its side, when it's doing that, that means that the bait's sitting on the bottom. Now, all you got to do is reel it in and move the slip stop down, and you can do 6 foot or 6 inch to 1 foot increments until the bobber just stands up. And then you know that you are now fishing near the bottom in 12 feet of water. Now, you might say, well, how do you fish like suspended fish, like crappie with it? Because a lot of people use slip bobbers for crappie fishing and stuff like that. If they're suspended 12 feet down, so say you have a boat. The thing is this works really good for shore fishermen because it allows you to gauge stuff without ever actually getting over the water. But if you have a boat and you're marking fish at 12 feet down, and you do what I just said, you're fishing a 10 foot flat, you do your rod, and you measure it to that point. The easiest way to do it is making sure that you're over 10 feet of water, pull the extra 2 feet out that you need for 12 feet, go back over that school of fish, cast over them. There you go. It's that simple. It really, really is that simple. So if you have a boat, that's how you do that. Okay, one other thing that I want to make sure everyone understands here. This is for you shore guys. This is how I got good at fishing shores. From shore. Basically, the one thing everybody has a hard time with is this. You could be fishing a really steep bank and the water could be 2 feet deep next to it. You could be fishing a really steep bank and that bank could go, like say this is the water line, that bank could just keep going down for 30 feet. If the water's not clear, you will never know unless you're really proficient at like gauging your jig drop and all that other stuff. With a slip bobber, it takes all of the guesswork out of it. You do exactly like I said before. You take your jig, you take a split shot, And what I like to do if I'm fishing from shore is I'll put my split shot right up next to the jig until I'm like actually fishing. Then I move it away depending on what I want for action and stuff like that. But that's a whole different ball game. So you put it close to it. You put a decent sized slip bobber on. This is like the middle ground one. One that's not going to sink because, you know, you have all this weight on there. Something properly weighted, whatever. And what you do is you just cast out just far enough to where you would think the fish could be running along the shore. So like in a river situation, it could be right next to the shore. In a lake situation, it could be way away from shore. And like I said before, because of the compact nature of it, when it's all put together and set because your depth is on top of it, the ability to cast really far is the biggest benefit of fishing with a slip bobber. That's why I always argue with people when they're trying to tell me that it's not like this miracle thing, because slip bobber fishing was like one of the best discoveries of my fishing life, because when I fished from shore all the time, it allowed me to do this one thing. You set the bobber, so like say you cast out 10 feet from shore. You can just guess. You can go, okay, well, it might be 3 feet deep. So you set the bobber 3 feet, you know, you set the stop on the bobber, which I should have showed you guys if you didn't know what it looks like. It's going to be a little hard to show you. But can you see it on there? That little knot right here is on my line. So that's a slip stop. And then you have, here, I'll just grab them from my box here. Then you have a bead that goes in between that and the bobber. And then it's bobber and then sinker. And then hook or jig. Doesn't matter. Depends on how you want to fish it, what you want for presentation, everything like that. But so you set the depth with that slip stop, the knot, and say, like I said, it's 3 feet deep. You set it to that 3 foot mark, cast out. If your bobber lays flat, you're on the bottom. Now you just bring it down. You bring a slip stop down to lower the depth. Yeah, you could put it at 2 feet right away, or you could put it at 2.5 feet, whatever you want to do, just to see how deep it is. And you cast out, and if the bobber stands up, there. Now you're off the bottom. And then you can make minuscule movements to fine tune how deep it actually is. You could get it down to the inch. Like you can literally make it so that your bobber is like half standing because the jig is just touching the bottom, and then you move it up 1 more inch and now the bobber perfectly stands up because the jig is literally just off the bottom. Like you can move it an inch at a time. You can use it millimeters at a time, whatever. Point I'm trying to make here is, so you can do that with 3 feet, go out further, and keep resetting it, and you can map out an entire shoreline. So you know now, it's a little bit to do. You have to have a little bit of ability to have a visualization of like what you're picturing underwater. If you can do that, it's game over. Like the fish can't hide now, and that is the beauty of the slip bobber. Okay, so that's pretty much the gist of using a slip bobber to your benefit, whether you're in a boat or on shore. And I want you shore guys to really take this and do this. Go buy 1 or 2 slip bobbers, depending on if you're fishing at a river or not. You might want a couple slip bobbers, because if you're slipping a river, what happens is as it bounces downstream, you'll learn to read the rocks and stuff like that. But sometimes you learn to read the rocks. As it snags into them, you can't get it out. You break the line, you lose the bobber. It happens, it's fishing. So sometimes I like to just invest. Like I said before, in many other videos, I have everything listed below. This is all an investment. I buy everything, and I make sure that I take care of everything and try to make it last as long as possible. But as I said, sometimes you just get a snag and you break off. I'm not immune from that. It happens all the time. So I hope today's video really helped you guys out. I hope you guys take it out and use it. And I mean, when I say to use this, I want you to use it often. Just dedicate like a month or 2 to it. and see what you can really come up with it. And if you made it this far, I want you guys to comment down below and let me know if you've tried this and this video kind of helps break it down, or if you have any other questions that I might not have covered. Go ahead and leave those in the comments below, because I'm going to try and help you guys get this down. Because once you get this down, like I said, it's a simple thing. You can go to a bait shop anywhere you go fishing, and you can usually find a slip bobber, a hook, and a sinker. That's all you need. We're going to get into some more complicated ones later on. Stay tuned for the next Tackle Tip Tuesdays. If you're not subscribed here, you got to stick around. That's about all I can say. Is I try to do Tackle Tip Tuesdays every Tuesday. So, but if you aren't new here, you know what's up. But if you are new here, please just remember to